can tell her, you can tell her anything. She's a real good listener. You can tell her anything.
Yo, what's up? It's your girl, Father Longlegs. You know me, Daddy T. It's Father, Mommy, and Baby. I don't know why I call myself that. I feel like it's just like it's just me being my own family unit. But I'm very excited to have my guest on today. I'm such a huge fan, and I honestly, it's funny saying that I'm a fan because it is true, and now we're friends, which I think is really fun. But I want to quickly read a funny tweet I pulled just now. If my rent can go up every year, so can the minimum wage. That's right. It is Rhea Butcher with the laughs. Hello. How's it going?
That's me. What's up, Teresa? It's so good to see you.
Good to see you. And you have a new album out, right? Pull yourself up from your bootleg.
Yeah, pull yourself up by your bootleg.
I love it.
Yeah, I mispronounce my own title of my album all the time. I don't know. I can't tell you how many tweets I've deleted that say "pull yourself up by your bootstrap," and that is not the joke. So
I love it. Did you record it before? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
It's a live recording, right? Did you record it before we all went into quarantine?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah. I got really lucky in having a recording from a show. Mm-hmm. I wasn't the person that does PR for the label, didn't want to put the year in there. I think because it's still kind of weird. It would be weird, but it's from fall. I mean, once you listen to it, you know when it's from because I'm there. I'm in Denver over Halloween, and so it's 2019 Denver.
Gotcha. Oh, cool.
2019. So without promoting that, because that is that's 2 years at this point.
Whatever.
And if anybody can't tell my inflection, I did air quotes.
Quote. Yeah, we've been in March 2020 for the last 10 months. So
exactly. So yeah, it's pre-pandemic in the clearest sense, in that there's no even inkling yet. Not in it wasn't until November, December that we had even I think an idea that was going to happen.
Wow.
So yeah, very lucky.
Well, speaking of good news, I do like to start with a good confession as just a way for people to get to know you, but also start on a positive note. I may have taken yours. I'm sorry if that was it, but do you have something good you want to confess? Is it? Okay. Well,
I know, it's great. It's perfect.
I mean, so because it's funny because I think I saw an email someone mentioning an album, and then I went and looked at because I was like, oh, did you have a new album? And I think that day I didn't see it on Spotify yet, so I was like, I must be confused. But then I looked again and I was like, it is out.
Yeah.
So I got excited.
Yeah, no, it is. It's totally out.
So this podcast is loosely based on, because I started going to therapy much older in my life, and I didn't really have access to that as a young Asian American growing up with parents who had no idea what it was. So it really helped me to just be able to talk openly. And so that's sort of the idea behind it. So I like to ask my guests, and everyone has different experiences, but what's your experience with therapy, and how do you sort of, do you have a confidant, or who do you talk out things with when you're processing emotions and things like that? Sure.
I mean, I've been going to therapy since I was in college, and similar, I mean, obviously not Asian parents, but I do have when I was in elementary school, I remember learning about, I think we were in second or third grade, but just learning about, world culture or whatever. Uh-huh. And it learning about Japanese culture, but also Chinese culture, that the grandparents live with the family. That was a thing as a kid that really stuck out to me. And I lived with my grandparents. My parents both moved back in with their parents, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm Asian. In this, in this, how children, and I just share that because it's kids really, we learn all these things that we put on each other, these negative things. We will absolutely learn bigotry. Children are not programmed with it. Humans are programmed to be susceptible to it, but it's not innate in our nature. You know what I mean? To be because it was just this cool, oh my God, cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting.
Anyway.
No, because, yeah, you're so right. Those labels are, I feel language is originally, designed to make things easier. I feel I'm very excited for this conversation because we've had many texts about just sort of that gray area. But I do think at some point it was beneficial. It still is. I'm not saying get rid of language. But we're now at a point where we can take sort of the knowledge of the instinctive language, like body language, like music, dance, and combine that with the words we have to like create a more full language. But I think we do lean a lot on shortcuts. So like, you know, the idea of like race is kind of arbitrary way of categorizing people, and living with your grandparents, maybe culturally it's more popular there, but by itself is not a unique thing to Asian. So it's like that weird like line where when you learn the wrong delineations first, it kind of just drastically changes how you view the world. I don't know.
100%. I mean, even just like thinking about, you know, like reverse, like looking backwards, hindsight, I believe is what it's called, about, you know, like my partner and I were just talking about like, you know, I don't want to say these uncertain times because that's become like the TM that everybody says now, but just like, it kind of opens up different possibility than originally thought. I guess I would put it that way of like, well, we don't have to. And she was just like, you know, we can let go of the idea that this is the best place to live.
Yeah.
You know, this being America, you know, like that this is the only place that's okay to live. And like, it just, that is something that I think and know, but like it just you know, it's like you continually experience new ways of thinking and believing. And just even that of going like, oh, right. The reason I had to learn about people having their grandparents in their home being an Asian thing, you know, quote unquote, is because America has sold this idea that there's only one way to have a household. And it is two opposite sex parents with 2.5 children and maybe a dog and a cat, 2 cars, preferably you have a driveway. Like that is the ideal way. And it's just not, there is no ideal. The ideal way is that there is a loving home, whatever that looks like.
Loving, supportive, respectful. That's the thing that is so interesting because like, I resonate with that because even, I didn't even think about it until you put it that way when you said like Asian, that I realized I like for so long growing up identified with both realities because it is true, but you know, as an adult, I start to see that a lot of people from the outside may only see me as one identity, which is like, you know, all part, it's not one person's fault. It's like the whole system, but it does explain a lot of my confusion growing up because, you know, I hear things like Asian, which I identified with. I didn't, you know, push that aside, but also I hear American and I also identify with it. So then there is this weird dichotomy. Like when I travel, I'm like, I'm an American, but then, you know, at other times I'll be like, I'm proud to be Asian. And it makes you realize that it's just like what you're saying. Like, it's like this idea of like going against a norm that's not truly a norm for any real reason, except someone picked it, is just really tough because almost nobody's going to have 2.5 kids, just like nobody's going to have, you know, the
That's
exact
impossible.
average height, exact average everything. But we still measure ourselves against this like non-existent, like weird average of lives, you know?
It's this brass ring, you know, and I mean, we could. But anyway, I went to therapy in college, and I
can tell
you know,
because you have very nuanced thoughts.
Sure. I'm trying to remember like how it even came to be, but like I went to a commuter school. I went to the University of Akron. Like they now have dorms and things. Also, I don't even know if that school is very long for this world at this point. Like, you know, I'm very lucky to have gone to college. There's a lot of conversation around, you know, student loan debt and all that stuff. Could get into that, all those things. But I think that the way that my entry point into therapy was probably having some, you know, pop culture idea of it.
Was it negative or positive, or was there a connotation?
I mean, it was probably both.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like pop culture of therapy is, you know, lay on a couch, person with a notepad and Frasier or whatever, you know? And then all the Animaniacs jokes of like Freud or whatever. And I didn't know what it was.
Those are very pop culture references, but I don't know if those will be well, maybe Frasier more, but Animaniacs, I just love that you pulled that one out as a reference.
Yeah, I mean, I literally have an Animaniacs pillow on my couch that my mom made for me. Like, it's very... I realized I was listening to Jamie Loftus' podcast, Lolita, on this car ride. Yeah, it's very good, very deep very much, very a lot. And
Yes.
there's a whole thing on Freud, and I was like, man, he really just turned into a cartoon. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, right, because my experience of him is as a cartoon. But the first time I experienced any type of therapy was like a group therapy
Oh, okay.
setting. That was, so my college had, you know, a psychology school, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I had no insurance, and we all know that insurance, even if you have it these days, rarely, if ever,
nothing.
covers talk therapy. But I had, you know, I didn't know how to do it. Like similar to you, Teresa, like no idea. That is not a thing that you do, you know, like literally no one in my close family, the people I experienced in my daily childhood life, went to therapy. Like not even a thought, not even a whisper, not even a nothing, you know.
It's so attributed to, especially in the 90s, or just like on like sitcoms and stuff. It's so attributed to this like punchline of either you like need help or you're in a crisis, which is like a part of it, but just like nobody is doing punchlines of going to it would be like if all the doctor scenes you ever saw in movies were like, ha, he went to the doctor for his knee. Right. You're like, what? Like,
which is kind of almost how it is. At least my experience of the doctor is like, you don't go to the doctor because your insurance will go up. Like that's the belief system that I was raised around, you know. And children go to the doctor, and then as soon as you're an adult, which is 13, you know, like you stop, you don't go to the doctor.
That's so wild. I was
you know what I mean?
Thinking about that because I recently found out that, sorry, I got so excited.
No, go ahead.
As a baby, I had heart surgery and I had to go every year to check in, and then when you're an adult, they just are like, okay, cool. And then I only recently found out that like, I'm like supposed to be going. But there's no like graduation from pediatrician. It's just like, and you're done, and then go into the world. And
we'll see you when you're about to die. And we can load you up with prescriptions. You know, like it's crazy. And I mean, I think all of the things that we're talking about, therapy included, especially, is an American lack and fear of preventative measures, you know? And it relates to me, the idea that we were talking about before, that there is some ideal, which is that you should just be it. You should just be it. Like everybody else is. So why aren't you? And that's your fault. And so you should probably buy something that'll help you get closer, you know?
Did you
but
watch,
I went to this.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I keep interrupting. Well, I was just saying, did you watch
You're the host.
You're
supposed to.
Framing Britney on Hulu, which our lovely friends Tess Barker
our pals
and Babs Gray are in. But I like learning about Britney's like really like diving into sort of her mental health even during that time was really interesting because I realized like when I was growing up I related to her because, you know, I was a kid and she was, you know, it was being sold to me, but I did connect emotionally a lot to her songs in a way that I thought like, oh, just pop. People are going to be like, oh, you're so surface level. But then I realized I always thought, oh, look at this like perfect thing that I want to be. She doesn't feel like these sad things, but she can express them. So why can't I be like this? And then you grow up and you realize like she did feel that. That's why I connected. Like literally I connected to her because I related to the emotions and she was dealing with it. So that to me is like a whole like crumpling down of like erasing all the like the bad patterns I learned as a kid because it's like actually the idols you connected to were literally dealing with mental health issues, so maybe that's why we should talk about it, you know.
Absolutely.
But so well, it sounds like you had a healthy relationship with therapy. You started with group and then no, I mean it's been a long road. I started with this group therapy, and I am a non-binary trans person, so at the time I was going to a women's group, and I have always been not great at time management, and I was convinced that the meeting started at 10:30. The like group therapy meeting started at 10:30. Walked in at 10:30, sat down to a group of people. It was the circle of chairs like you see in TV of like this group setting or whatever, and everybody kind of looked at me and I was like, well, this is weird, you know, whatever. And then the woman, the therapist that was running it was like, it was so wild. She was just like,
I guess we're all just wondering why you came in so late or something. Like she was very like cut, and everything in my body I wanted to just like explode out of there and just like leave.
That's such a weird reaction because
it was
even
super
if you
weird.
weren't late, like I mean, even if you were late, that's a weird reaction for someone.
Yeah.
There's so many reasons to have wanted to, been scared to go, whatever. Like
100%. It's like I've since I've had a lot of time and perspective to be like, she just said that, like who knows? That's the thing too, is like therapists are humans. Like that's the other thing about therapy that I'll probably get to. But anyway, the thing that was really reparative to me was I sat there because part of my like trauma response in an experience like that where I want to leave is to not. So like it did actually serve me well to have that. I have fight, flight, and freeze, which you end up finding out in therapy. All those things that freeze actually helped in that situation, because as soon as it was over, I got up to leave, and that whole circle of women that were in that group therapy session came over to me, and they were like, I cannot believe that she said that to you like that. None of us feel this way, and we really hope that you keep coming back to this group therapy session. And I wouldn't have come back if it wasn't for them saying those things and being like, hey, look, and it really opened me up to the whole thing. And, I had some friendships with those people in that group therapy, and just like hearing other people's experiences in this group therapy setting and realizing like, oh, this woman's in academia. She runs the thing. It's like, she's a person, but, and then I ended up like her, like teaching assistant ended up being my first therapist. And I mostly sought therapy because I was trying to understand, I was trying to come out, and I watched a lot of queer cinema and stuff. And I feel like I gleaned from that like you needed to talk to a therapist, but I didn't know who else to talk to about it. I didn't, this is 2003 in Akron, Ohio. And like Akron, Ohio is like a really rad place, but it's also Akron, Ohio in 2003. Like I think
before it was so much harder to just even connect to. Now I feel like I can Google the most obscure thing, and even if I find 100%. One person who has like the same taste as me in like, I don't know, like peanut butter, whatever, steak galleons, whatever. But it'd be like, one person is all I need to not feel alone. But in a big town, like you want to, you feel the presence of being different.
Absolutely. And also, just to say, there was the internet. It just isn't, like you said.
Sure.
Like,
I know
go
you're
to
not,
the internet for like everything in this way that we just didn't at the beginning. It was like its own thing, and like you had to do, like I was still printing out directions.
Yes. Oh my God.
I was still calling places on the phone. So like I think it's easy, and also just like because the internet existed and because of all these conversations that we've had, like. I really don't get down with the phrase that like the gay rights movement is the fastest moving civil rights movement, because that's bullshit. It's not. It's moving it's not fast enough. Like none of it is fast enough. So I don't want to get down with that. But I do think that
it's not wild. There's no like. Anytime you watch a movie or anything that's like showing the flaws of society, you go like, we could change this tomorrow. Like.
Oh yeah,
there's really
we could change it today.
People are like, yes, you could change it now. Like we could snap our fingers and instantaneously all decide to care about people.
Yes,
and people are like, because it takes time. You're like, what? Like
because the change of heart and the change in each person's like for like opinion, because that's what we're actually talking about, does take time.
Yeah.
But things like discriminatory laws and the fact that like people can't get health care, like those things. We can change today.
Yeah, we could immediately
when you change those things, it changes the other shit. Where people go like, oh, I'm not going to lose what I already have if somebody else gets this.
Yeah.
Like that changes it. But we've been sold this lie that we have to wait for public opinion to change.
Which it won't, as long as people in charge don't want it to.
It's not, that's not how it actually works. It works by changing the laws and changing, like giving people actual material aid, as opposed to, because there are so many, anyway, now I'm losing the
I agree with you, because it's like that idea, like we're talking about the norm, like quote unquote, or having a standard, like the idea that we have to wait to change public opinion is implicitly saying that where we are now is actually okay, and what we're trying to get is like just better, instead of going like, hey, where we are now is like really not okay, and like even if it like if we had to suddenly not, you know, like pay for everyone's healthcare, which because we're bailing out companies, we have the money
left
even
and right.
if it goes
it's
chaos, it's like just do it and then we will be live and we'll figure it out, because that is actually where we should start. But it's
but then we wouldn't center our entire lives around work. You know, that is the cultural thing, which is why I think therapy is so inaccessible, even mentally or emotionally for people. And my experience of therapy has been over the course of since being 22, let's say 21, 22,
that's
somewhere around there.
I started going too.
Yeah, is that there is no end goal. You know, I take moments where I'm like, I need to take a break from therapy because it's too much, or I'm doing this and I can't show up to it the way that I want to. But it's not like, oh, I'm done now. You know,
you don't really graduate.
You don't graduate from anything really.
Yeah,
like,
you're still alive. You don't even really graduate from school. Half the time I'm like suddenly remembering things I learned in school, like when I was in middle school, and I'll be like, oh, I get it, like in a way that applies, and I'm like, wow, we really knew more than we thought we knew in 7th grade. Yeah. I still have to like review my old, like calculus or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, I'm curious. Okay, something you said I wanted to explore. You said you started going when you were trying to come out. Were you aware, like, were you like, I want to come out and I need to figure it out? Or was it like kind of embedded in that, like, you hadn't come out to yourself yet and you were going because you're trying to figure yourself out? The reason I asked is because I feel like I had this misconception when I first started going, like what you're saying, you see in movies people go, but I thought like I would get like a diagnosis. Like I would get, like I would just present what I thought and then the therapist would be like, yeah, you're bi.
This is what you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I was like looking for, and it was very weird at first, because then I realized like they're just like, okay, whatever you say. And I was like, but am I? What am I?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was seeking answers for sure, and I was seeking, like, what do I do? I think a lot. I think it was a bit of both, of the two options that you posed, that like I just didn't know what to do, because like my experience, which is not a universal experience by any means, but I know other people, queer people that have had that experience. It's like, it is something I've known that I was queer for as long as I have known that I was a person, which is to say, like, around 4 years old, and it's not something that was like fully tangible, fully formed. It was just like, I am different. Yeah. And there are many ways that I felt apart from, but that was always there, that was always there. And then the older you get, you go into society, and you go into like, you leave your sort of home base, and you're in school, and then it's reflected back to you in like even harsher terms of like, oh, something's different about you. And like, it probably shouldn't be, whether it's like a joke or like a weird look or whatever. And so that was stuff that like I was seeking that therapy relationship to sort of untangle and understand, of like, what is this basically? And there's a lot in there, there's like a lot in there. And it took me, I didn't really get, I don't know. I remember sitting and talking with that person, and I was in a relationship, and I didn't know how to be in relationship with people. And it was like a lot. And she was a student, and she did the best that she could. And she was also like so straight, and also, again, it was like 2003. And like, I don't remember the timeline, but like being gay was in the DSM, pretty recently, like being gay, being homosexual, was, something you could be diagnosed with. And I've since, in my own experience of like life and my experience of myself, and like sort of, I hesitate to say coming out as trans, although I did do that because I live a somewhat public life. And I felt like it was important to specifically say those things as opposed to being quiet about it. That it is something like, it is like, you seek medical treatment for being trans, you know, which is the solution for me. This is for me. I'm not a doctor, but I take testosterone, right? Because I am trans. And that is the solution. The solution is not, I am trans and there's something wrong with that. It's that I am trans, and the medical solution for that is to take testosterone.
Yeah, but even like the next level of that is, because I hear what you're saying. It's still very much like swimming upstream against this, like, because you really have to like go sort of on your own way to find like what to do, as opposed to like, oh, if you are trans and you have a built-in community and friends and life, that the life and community would sort of make space and just like adjust. Right. Like that's what most like of nature does, when they're I mean, animals really just adjust with their tribe, and I feel like we've lost so much of that adaptability as humans, because now it's like, you have to go do all these things, and it's like there is a way for the world to also put in that work, and I don't think they're doing it, and it's like,
well,
I mean, strange.
I know I think it's easy to think that they're not.
Well,
both things are true.
I don't mean nobody is, but I mean there's against like that you have to come out at all of this feeling, instead of being like, this is where we all are. But I it's so weird, because it's like recognizing where I want to be in the world and knowing we're not there, so we can't skip ahead. We can't just erase any of these experiences, because they're still
Yeah, because I mean, I've definitely seen people, like there's like National Coming Out Day, right? And like on Twitter, I often see people who identify as straight and as like allies say things to the effect of like, I hope one day people don't have to come out. And I bristle at that, because it is a cultural experience. It is where we are. That is the thing. It's like, I believe that utopia is tomorrow. Like I actually believe those things. I think everything is possible. Everything that we want for humanity, to end suffering, all those things are possible. But it doesn't mean that the experience is erased.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like people saying colorblind as a way to say they're not. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, like, to clarify.
I was listening to of course. And like I was listening to En Vogue, and Free Your Mind, I think is the song. And she's like, be colorblind, don't be so shallow. And I was thinking about how interesting that is, that she says like, be colorblind, don't be so shallow. And like, it's like both, right? Like, like I am not colorblind, right? Like I'm like, oh, I don't see color. It's like, it's a practice.
Yeah.
That is not the only thing, and we don't become these ideas. Like, it almost reminds me of how everybody's talking about blue states and red states. It's like, that doesn't exist. Yeah,
it doesn't make any
sense. That is literally from news on TV for election night. That's literally all that it means. Like, this is not an indication of good or bad. It's literally just like, oh, this is how this state voted in the last presidential election.
Yeah,
like, we've turned it into something so much bigger.
Individual people within states that are just, even within the red side or blue sides, have such different opinions. Yeah, it's like, what? This makes no sense.
Wildly, we're just covering everything.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to your confession. Okay, we're back. Rhea, the time has come. Is there anything you'd like to tell me?
I mean, I think ultimately, like everything we've been talking about, is something that I've learned in the past couple of years, or really begun to learn, I should say. I haven't learned it. It's not done. Is that the only way to create the change that we're talking about is to love and accept yourself.
Yes. Okay,
fully.
I love this.
That's it. That's the only thing. That is actually the only thing. And I think, I've never lived in another culture, so I try to keep it on America, because I've never been cultured in another culture, which is incredibly American as well. So I feel like that speaks for itself.
There's so many, because even that is like, I mean, now I'm just getting wild with the stuff I say, but like, because I say this as a way to still acknowledge all the steps it takes to get there, not like, well, then we're solved. But, when you talk about how, like, even like borders are in a way kind of a scam. So yes, there are different
more
cultures.
than in a way.
Yeah, they are a scam. But outside of America, I'm going to acknowledge there are different cultures, but also within America there are different cultures, and we do put these like. This is why I like to call it the gray area, because I say it's like non-binary, but not in this sense, in a gender sense, but really just we put these lines up, like walls, to frame ourselves in. But it's like, oh, we're in America, so there's no other cultures. But then,
right?
But America's not real. Like, there's so many cultures in America.
Yeah,
so that's more what I
100%.
mean. But
oh yeah, I mean that makes sense. I guess I just meant in a sort of wider global sense of like. Because I've literally, like, the only places I've gone outside of the United States are Canada, Mexico, and that was a resort that I was working at, you know? So, like, well, actually, that's not true. I went to California, Baja Sur, which is, like, a beautiful little place, and, just incredible. And Ireland.
Oh.
That's it. So, like, I have left, like, this continent, which is great, you know, and I feel in a lot of ways going to Hawaii is like going to another country, because there's a lot of there's just
island culture.
Look, and also, you know, the knowing even a minimal amount of the history of Hawaii as a state, you know, it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely like another country. And I've been to Puerto Rico, which is not another country. So
but they don't get to vote, which is weird.
They don't get to vote, which is not surprising. It's
also interesting the flip side of what you're saying, because I know a ton of like I continually pick on Asian people because they are, at the same time of being proud, sometimes they make the most egregious mistakes. Not all of them. It's almost like they're human. But yes, because every human does. But specifically, there is like a homogenous culture in Asian American culture, especially in California. Like, if you grew up in like, you know, one of the wealthier areas, like the 626 or whatever, they may have less experiences than you, but then by default they feel like they have two identities because they're Asian American. But they only hang out with Asian people, only buy designer clothes, you know, only go to name brand schools, don't really travel and experience. Even like, I'm not saying voluntourism is great, but at least guilty white people are like going out doing that, and these people are like, well, I'm a minority, so I don't have. So on some level, I think it does hurt us to be like drawing these distinctions because it's like by default you feel like, oh, I'm marginalized, but I don't know if a person in a like 16-bedroom mansion in Alhambra is marginalized.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? That's what it all kind of starts to fall apart when you really start to, and that's like, I had this joke on my first album about, you know, like and this is a thing that I mostly have experienced within like queer people, potentially because I'm a white person, so there's not another thing to have this discussion around. Directly to me, but like people being like, oh, I don't like labels. I don't like to label it. You know, that was like kind of the thing of like what I feel like is homonormativity a little bit of like the mainstreaming of which is also why I identify as queer these days, because I feel like it's not in the thing. And it keeps me in that population, and it's a lot more inclusive of many things. It's not just like one specific thing. That's again just me. However, to me, what we're kind of starting to talk about, what you're bringing up with like, are you really marginalized if you have a 16-bedroom house? Like, we're talking about labels and identities, you know, like we're talking about something that somebody else assigns to you or something else assigns to you. And then we're talking about something that comes from within. And like, perhaps like that person is not marginalized. However, what I always remember like, is if the two of us are walking on the street, what is the experience that's going to happen? You know, and those are the experiences that we might not have direct control over, but that is something that I can change in me. It like, that is the unfortunate reality of this country, specifically in America, with its roots and seeds firmly planted in bigotry, genocide, xenophobia, racism, you know, all of it is that we think we can buy our way out of it.
Yeah, the legal system is so, like, I mean, I've recently.
Well, I just mean, I literally mean walking. Like, if that person with a 16-bedroom house is walking down the street and I am, currently now with what's happening because of the pandemic and this like siege against like elderly Asian people or just Asian people in this country, that 16-bedroom house is not going to protect them from that thing happening.
I see. Yeah, you still have at the whim of others' judgments.
Right. Yes. And so that is the thing that we actually have to work towards as a society, as people, as human beings. Like I am working on stopping looking at differences and trying to look at similarities. Like same thing can happen to me because I've walked down the street and my gender has always been ambiguous to people, regardless of what I have identified on the inside. It has always been a problem in the public. It has always been a problem, and it probably always will. And I can't control that. The only thing I can do is go into every situation open to what's going to happen. But I bring that up to say that, like, me in a 500 square foot bedroom apartment, doing pretty well for myself, not 16 bedroom mansion style, like, we have something in common, which is somebody wants to make us feel bad. Somebody wants to hurt us. And so how can I stand in solidarity with every person at every moment?
That's interesting.
And it's not external, it's inside.
Internal. You find the negative space. It's kind of it's weird because I know like we tend to talk about in politics the idea of a centrist is bad, but I like the idea of moving towards the center in your community and not as a way to erase experiences. It's like what you're talking about, finding the common ground where you overlap with everyone and still being okay with all the parts that are different, but starting from the common ground, because then you start to enjoy the differences. Like I take it as like in my healthy relationships that I've gotten better at over the years compared to like more toxic ones when I wasn't aware. Even when I have disagreements in my healthy ones, I never feel unsafe or threatened. I feel that we've already established a ground, mutual respect and obviously something in common. And I respect that if we were to reach a fundamental difference, there would be some sort of like cue. It's not just like, I'll say the wrong thing and they'll blow up. Whereas in toxic relationships, people are often looking for conflict because they need to feel status or better. So even if you're supporting them, then they might find a way to twist that and be like, how come you agree with everything I say or whatever.
I mean, to me, Teresa, it's because you said it's, and politics is a much different, even if you're talking about politics, what we're talking about is relationship, and it is a centered, there's a difference between being centered and being a centrist, they've tried to flip that like centrism is finding common ground, but it's not, it just isn't.
They're
That's
erasing
not what that
the
is. It's not the
differences.
same thing.
Yeah.
Because you're creating they're creating a binary or a dichotomy between two things which are not actually opposites. Like I think about, I just recently watched Judas and the Black Messiah, and the sort of the continual FBI lie that they're promoting, and the FBI agent himself as a white man believes, is that the dichotomy is the KKK and the Black Panther Party. Those two things are not a binary.
Right.
They're not. They are
by
not.
default, there's people who aren't in either of those who have thoughts on both of them. So they're like,
right.
The default is not the only two. Yeah. If
you were to say, that is the binary and each is as bad, then you are not actually looking, like you're not, it's not, it's a superficial thing.
Yeah.
And so it is about, it's getting out of your brain and getting into your heart and getting into the actual moment that you're actually in, which is why like so many of these, like the recent, like lefty sort of podcasty, Twittery things is so interesting to me, because it's like, I'm not an organizer at all. Like I am not an organizer. I have experienced organizing in a minimal way. You know what I mean? Like I've gone to some meetings. Yeah, but I mean like actual like political activist organizing of like, this is what we're going to get done. This is what we're trying to do. I've witnessed it. I watch my friends who do it. I see other people. I follow a lot of it so that I can pay attention and see what's going on and see how I can be of service to that thing. And that's what's important. It's not only talking about these things. Like, and so that brings me back to therapy, which is that therapy has not been the be all end all for me. It has been a good thing to have some place to talk to somebody that is safe and I'm protected by actual laws. And then it's also been good to like leave those relationships and find new ones. And then also expand the circle to finding people that I can have that intimate relationship with that builds and grows and is trusted, you know, because it's not just one thing. It's not just like have the podcast that explains how this all works. You know, it's like, and it shows me that in these sort of things, like AOC has become this target, which shocker, but like, oh, you don't actually like know. I just see it. I'm just like, oh, you don't actually know what, and I don't either. That's why I'm not weighing in on any of that shit, which is like, oh, I know my place, you know, like it's just getting like, I know I am open to where I can be of service. I don't think, oh, I just had this idea and it's what's going to change everything.
Well, I would even argue, I would jump in there and argue, I guess not argue, but provide a different perspective that, and this isn't as popular, everyone, because I think people do enjoy the following a leader, and I think I still do that, but I also think counting yourself, like what you said, like looking at yourself and self-love and really valuing yourself, that is such a big part of the equation. And once you get there, you really realize like you are a piece. Like if everyone is one, you are one, and you're not, it's not like you're zero and you experience one, which is to say like you don't have to be the one who has the one idea to change the world, but if you have an idea, it could be an idea that changes a person's mind, then changes another person's mind. And I think that's what I hope, at least, the signs of we're going towards decentralization. Like, even though I talk about being centered, what I think the idea of decentralization is like less reliance on these like power institutions and more on trusting ourselves and checking in with the people around us in a way that we're constantly like tweaking and adjusting and growing, not just linearly, but like, you know, I don't know, now I'm getting into geometry, but you know, like you're like constantly growing outwards, and it becomes much harder to fall suddenly. And it becomes much harder to get the rug pulled out if you've been checking in with everyone and you've been truthful, because the people who are trying to abuse that or exploit that like will stick out so much faster, you know?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I mean, that's, community is a really important thing that has been, you know, just assaulted, I feel like, in this country for decades, and continues to be, that like any amount of community organizing whatsoever. I mean, the Black Panther Party in Fred Hampton is a perfect example of that. Like, doing something outside of the government, and
even the GameStop, as silly as it is, it was decentralized.
I mean, it's not silly. I think it's incredibly important. Yeah.
It's a perfect example of how they're like, did it by the rules, but then the guys who made the rules are like, but that's not what we meant.
But that's not what it's for. Yeah, exactly.
The rules. Like, the rules were meant so that you could never win. It's like, but that's not what you told us. Like, what?
Yeah. You guys keep winning, though. And I mean, that's the thing is like, have you ever read Sapiens? That book?
No. I should check it out.
I haven't read the whole thing. But, you know, language, and then also like money. Yeah. He talks a lot about how money is like the biggest idea we've ever agreed on. You know, like all this stuff is made up. That's the thing, is like all this stuff is made up, which is not to say that like I can just go do whatever I want, you know? Like I stop at stop signs now. I used to stop at stop signs because I didn't want to get a ticket. Now I stop at stop signs because I respect the neighborhood that I'm driving through.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Because I want my neighborhood to be respected.
Yes. But so you're like an actualized person. And I think a lot of people stay in that adolescent, even childish phase where they're doing it because it's a rule. And then that's where you get into people exploiting the legal system for, like, so many of the people winning cases are actually the villains who know how to hire the lawyers, and, you know, and they know, and all they have to do is be like, legally, you can't fight us. Yeah. And it's like, these rules were made to, it's so clear sometimes what the principle is. I almost wish, like, we're getting to a point with enough, like, transparency that I'm like, I almost wish some courts were just like, all right, like, yes, you're still going to go the legal process, but if it's so clear, like, we're just going to ask every single human, and we all go, if we go back, clearly villain.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's like, it does not serve society. Yeah. To have the carceral system that we have. It just doesn't. It serves society. I feel as though I'm serving society when I drive the speed limit through a place, not because I'm doing good and because I'm following the rules. I used to live that way very recently.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with that because then when people don't do it, I get very mad at them, and then I turn into my own cop in my own head, and I have to investigate that, not as a cop, but as I have to let that go.
Shining
and be
the light on yourself.
Not the point. Yeah,
yourself.
exactly. But I do it because I want to practice mutual respect and understanding, and it does not do anything, I believe, for society to have mass incarceration. I don't think it actually serves society to have incarceration, period.
It makes no sense.
Mass incarceration specifically with these just interning people. I actually believe that society would be served to not have that lingering and on the sort of edges of our lives.
We all all carry the guilt in some form in our bodies as a society, because you're right, even on a very basic numerical mathematical level, if you look at the entire history of how long humans in civilizations have used incarceration or just capital punishment, the crime rate, you would think by now we would have zero murders. If this was supposed to work, it should have worked, and it clearly,
'cause it's not about murder.
It's not about that. It's about keeping a class dynamic and fair.
And it's also about capitalism too, because you look at it if you really look at it, that's the other thing, is that people are not looking at it because they don't want to see it, because then they might have to admit to it, which I understand fully as a human being. I don't want to write things down because I don't want to look at them,
but that's,
if you
have
really
you ever
look
done
at
that? Written down things that you're no, I'm not written down. Have you ever written down anything?
No, I know.
I mean, I guess some people call it shadow work. I don't know if I'm misappropriating that term though, but sometimes I'll feel like I'm holding things from myself, so I'll sit down and be this is weird.
100%.
But I'm just write down shit that I need to confess to myself.
Yeah, a lot of stuff comes out.
It is scary because you're even though nobody's gonna see it, in a way you're now it's real, but it was real.
Yeah, I mean now I don't. I mean my experience of doing that is that I don't want to do it because I don't want to be confronted with it. However, when I do it, then I don't live by it.
Yeah.
That begins the process of letting it go,
yes, totally.
Because I'm holding on to it in here,
yeah.
But I really, something else to me about, mass incarceration and crime, this idea of crime, it's not to say that crime doesn't exist. It's just that it's capitalism. So for policing to stay alive, it has to have a product. Policing does not create a product. In fact, its definition is to stop that product. But if it's doing its job, we don't need it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
On a long enough timeline, we won't need it. So in order for it to stay alive, everything must be criminalized.
Dang.
So we live in this country where we think we are innocent until proven guilty, whereas that is absolutely not the case. And police are trained to see everyone as a criminal until proven otherwise. And so we're living with a population of people who are armed and dangerous and ready to make us criminals and take our lives from us at any moment, regardless of race, class, any of these things. It's just that the effect of it is greater based on race, class, gender lines.
It's truly I've been thinking a lot about the animal world and the natural instincts, because we were talking about this, how dogs shake and stuff, and it truly is a sign that we've gone too far in civilization when we as humans have less rights if we're hungry or tired or need a place to sleep than a bird or a rat, that we hire exterminators to exterminate rats. But if a rat stole from your trash can to eat, you wouldn't arrest it. How are we treating these rats better than it's and I
That's
don't
an
mean that
interesting.
to
I
compare,
never thought about it that way.
I don't mean that, and I hope people can see I don't mean that to compare humans to rats. I'm just trying to
we've kind of gotten there, have we not?
We have, but I'm trying to expose how because some people might be how would you, are you calling homeless people that? I'm no, I'm saying that we aren't seeing each other as humans anymore, because we're arresting people who are literally trying to survive. Like, there's a difference between, don't break into your neighbor's home and covet their wife or whatever. Like, I don't know, but like the old school thing of don't do the thing that's bad because you're greedy. But like, okay, so you broke into a house to take a shower because you were going to die. I think, look, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't encourage it, but like, come on, there's such a clear difference that I can't imagine like somebody facing someone who's clearly just trying to survive and going like, yeah, you're a criminal, you stole from me. It's like, what? Like,
judge not lest ye be judged,
If you're both alive and you're standing in front of quote unquote a criminal in the eyes of the law because they stole or took something from you because they needed to survive, I say it's a win for your planet and your people. Like, you're both alive. You didn't die. Like, they didn't. Yeah. They're not trying to kill you. If anything, you should give them more. Like, you should be like, oh shit, I really failed my people. Yeah. I mean, whatever. Like, I'm not like I'm saying this like I'm perfect, and I'm not. But I just feel like
no, nobody is.
Yeah.
But I mean, that goes back to love yourself as your neighbor. Like,
yes.
Anyone who is caught up in the criminal nature of some activity in this rhetorical thing that we're talking about, or you could point at, looting, like that's the line or something like that. That is a deep self-hatred, I believe.
Yes, because you have too much. If you could be looted at all, if someone could describe robbing you as looting you, you have too much.
Well,
too many things.
To me, I see somebody breaking into a store in these circumstances.
It's true.
I have not had to. I have not had that experience yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever will. And so my first reaction is, wow, that person must be struggling and going through some really serious pain in their life to do that.
Yeah.
And I am really grateful that I'm not. And so I extend the empathy to that person. And when somebody says that shit to me, like, oh yeah, but I'm against police brutality, but looting is not the answer. I say, why?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah. You care more about a target than you care about a human being,
I was like, you had a tweet about
that's all I can do.
That reminds me of one of your tweets. You said something about like anti-abortion people say like, but they have fingernails. And you're like, you know what else has fingernails? But it's like there's such a cognitive dissonance in some of these
because
arguments.
it's looking at things, it's not looking at people. It's looking at an idea over there as opposed to like what's happening right here.
Yeah.
What are we actually talking about? We're talking about control and fear and power and all these things. It doesn't, to me, like I truly do respect somebody's belief system that they think abortion is wrong. Like you are allowed to believe that. And guess what you get to do about that? Pray.
Yeah.
You get to have that belief.
Yeah.
I don't get to tell you can't feel that way.
Yeah, true.
Same thing. This is the same thing. That means you can't take that away from somebody. You don't
need to.
Now we're getting very into the weeds.
Yeah, to be.
I can't. And obviously, I'm not powerful enough to stop these laws and everything. But I think like wording, like you said, anti-abortion, like. That's what I call it. Like people still play on
pro-life.
The opposing team's turf all the time by saying like, "Oh, these pro-lifers are not very pro-life." Like, stop calling them
I'm pro-life. I like life. It's like
they're not. Stop calling them that because they're still winning when you use their language. So
you said you don't have the power, but I think your mind is power, and I don't just mean that like your mind is powerful, but also everybody's mind is powerful in that. And yours probably especially more because you do have an audience. So when you think these things and they're true, there's like an inherent resonance of truth that people, even if they might feel like they started in a very different place than you, they might be like, whoa, there's something here. And then they'll like chase that, So I think that's very powerful.
It's important. I think it's important and it's powerful. I guess I'm just like, I don't have the power to change the whole thing.
Yeah. You're not trying to hype yourself up it's actually a good instinct that you're not trying to like deify yourself. Like that's almost like a red flag if someone's doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that comedy is a powerful medium because people enjoy it, and I think that it can be important to have some levity, even when we're talking about really heavy things. Not because I don't think they're important, but because we're humans and it's a lot. And I think that people. This is why these like the alt-righty sort of right-winger comedy guys can be so successful because they're making jokes. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the
I
common
might not
ground.
think
You talk
it's
about finding
funny.
the common ground. If you can laugh with someone, well, truly not like they're good, but I mean, if someone hears a joke, even if they don't really like what they're saying, and they laugh, you've just exposed a common ground.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's something that I take very seriously, you know, of like what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. I know there are many things in my, you know, I was doing open mics at one point, and there are many things that I said that I thought, well, if I say them and it's coming out of my face, it's going to be this. And I'm, you know, and like, I take it very seriously. You know, like the things that I say.
You're capable of actually having discourse and growing, which is well, I mean, obviously I say that like, not like I was surprised, but I mean.
Well, not everybody is, and I'm not always very good at it.
But it's the fact that, well, even saying that shows me that you are, because, and I'll, you know, put myself on the line first, like even you're talking about wording, I think when I felt really marginalized starting in comedy, I would make more jokes about white people or even just like men. And then even like subbing in the word, you know, like men for like when I'm talking about like in the context of sexual assault, as if only men could sexually assault, because you know it was like I was trying to do a shorthand, and then over time I started. At first I was annoyed when people responded to that, but then over time, you know, I know plenty of men in my life who had experiences and are survivors, and it did make me question that, because I know a lot of them would be like, oh well, I know it's not about me, but I'm like, it's not, because but it is, because it's about survivors, and we're just trying to also handle like 3 other inequalities at the same time, that we're doing this weird shorthand merge. So now I like really try not to call out like men as a thing, as if all like it sounds so silly, because I think on the internet people are like, we know, but it's like, but you don't. Because how many people, like trans men, you know, like how many people are survivors of like gay men who have had bad experiences? Like, why are we suddenly creating this wall when we're trying to be inclusive and like keeping people out of like the fight that you would want them a part of, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think I totally am vibing on what you're saying, because I think men has become this shorthand, and it's almost like it's swung back around, you know? And like, I have a lot of like cis male fans, you know, like it's majority, like, maybe not cis male, but there's enough guys, you know, and I'm using that as like a shorthand, that come to my shows that like, I don't want to make them uncomfortable. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the kind of guys that come to my show, they don't need to be railed on. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's not what I'm trying to do. And I don't think that's what you're trying to do either, because I think we've done a disservice a little bit with this idea of the patriarchy being men.
Yes. and it hurts everyone.
It's not. Yeah. And it's not just that it hurts everyone. It's that it is an idea. It is a way of operating. And I can simply say women participated in it all the time. Or I can simply say that I even do a lot. Like, it is very simple it's not just like, oh, everything's run by men. That's the patriarchy. That's not actually only what it is. Like, it is also hierarchical thinking. It is believing that there's one way and that's the only way. It is feeling as though you are not that and you never will be, and so you must follow other people. Like, these things are like that there is one head of the one thing, and so that can be anybody. That does not have to be a man. It's not even masculine. Yeah, because if you swap
it out for like a tyrannical queen, it
does. If you swap it out for anything, you know what I mean? Like, for a queer if you get power and you hold it and you reign over something and you believe that there's a hierarchy to it, that is patriarchal thinking, and it doesn't matter if it's a man or not. And so once you open yourself to the idea that it is a mode of operating, and it is a way of thinking, and it is a way of living, and you go, oh, how do I, what is the sort of like spiritual experiential opposite of that? Oh, sharing, being open, letting go, finding my, you know, being in the moment, being present, like being willing to do something I maybe don't want to do because I think I'm going to have to give up some of my, space, or like I'm going to lose something, and that's not necessarily matriarchal thinking.
No.
It's just the opposite of patriarchy, and like you could sub out capitalism because they're all just really intertwined.
Can I ask? Okay, because you said you were talking about like bringing it back to the idea of like self-love and looking within, because I think everything you're saying, like it really rings really true to me, and I know both of us have like done a lot of thinking on this. But for people who might not really understand like what specifically that means, do you have like an example of like sort of a moment where you sort of like found that, like, the negative space, the ego, or where you're like, oh, I was acting this way because I wasn't accepting like in it as pertaining to your confession, but in the sense of like maybe more specifics for people who haven't experienced that on their own?
Sure. I mean, I could apply this to many things, but like my own experience of like understanding that I am a trans person, like understanding that I get to do that however I want. And that there's no one way to do it, and that just because people might have a problem with it, and that might initially the response might be, like conservative people who think trans people should die or whatever, but it's everybody. Everybody has an idea about what everybody should be doing. Once I realized that I was living my life on that, it's like, oh, that there's one way to do it. I don't know what that is. I couldn't possibly do it, so I'm not going to do it.
Rather than trusting your instincts, because by doing it at all, that is the right way, because you are we're talking about, you are a person. So whether you do it the way someone else did, that's also fine. There's patterns in nature, or you do something totally new and establish a new pattern. They're both right, because you are a person and you exist.
And also that it can change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like nothing is permanent, nothing is, like we could record tomorrow and I could have a completely different experience of it.
You can walk us through that. It's not like flip-flopping, like to be like, oh, well, yesterday,
that's all, that's all like political shit that we've sort of trickled down to become like our daily experience. Like, gotta have this belief and that belief and this, and it's like, no.
That's wild to
everything,
me. When
when
people
you're
criticize
walking around
others,
a video game.
People criticize opposition teams, saying like, oh, you didn't believe that before, now you do. It's like, well, do you not want more people to believe what you believe? Like, isn't that the goal, to like create some sort of like general consensus? So it's like whenever people change their mind, I'm like, good. It shows that there's like what? Yeah,
I mean, but that's the thing, is like, ultimately, and I guess this is maybe the ultimate answer to that, to your question of like, when did you realize? And it's a continued practice, so it's not like a full realization ever at any moment, but you fully realize it, and then you go, oh, I there's still more, like, but going like, oh, it's inside.
Yes,
it's inside, and there's no amount of anything I can do that can change out here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm powerless, I can't do anything in the world. That's not what I mean. Realizing that actually helps me realize, oh, there's a lot that I can change. There's a lot that I can change. But I have been trying to change the wrong things.
Yeah. It's very powerful. Like, it's knowing your actual power. Because there's this false knowing power where it's like, oh, let me try to like, say the right thing or do the right thing or look the right way to then manipulate people around me. But then there's let me listen and hear myself. Like, it's this idea of
what do I like?
And then giving it to yourself. It's like, that's why I say I'm mommy, daddy, and baby, because I do, as silly as it sounds, it's kind of how I've been talking myself through the worst parts of quarantine when I'm alone. Like,
dude, that's the best.
Yeah, I'll literally be like having a panic attack and be like, okay, that's baby. And then I'll have to be like, mommy. And then literally, it sounds insane, but I'll be like, do you want ice cream? And I'll be like,
no, that sounds great to me.
I want ice cream. Like, do you want me to get it for you? I'm like, yeah. And then I'll just get up, but as if I'm role playing getting it for myself. And I'm like, do you want to eat this? And I'm like, yes, I do.
We have to reparent ourselves, We're still those same little kids in here.
Yeah.
And then once you realize that that's the case for you, oh shit, that's the case for everybody
Yeah.
else. So like even somebody like Ted Cruz, still just that little kid in there. Now, I'm not excusing his behavior. I'm just acknowledging.
Yes.
You know
It doesn't excuse,
I'm just
it explains.
aware.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it begins some understanding, you know, and like I bring that guy up because it's just like the most recent example of it. But I can see that in anybody, you know, if I so choose to do it, but I have to choose to see that, you know. I have to, it doesn't mean I don't have feelings about things. It doesn't mean that I just have to move on and not let anything bother me. It just means that it's not as big as I thought it was. It's like, oh, right. Oh, this person is a scared child just like I am. And like their scared child is coming out. And, you know, like I have, like, even now, like there's commotion outside of my, and it's like, I don't know, little like 10-year-old Rhea feeling very jostled and and unsafe, you know? And I just have to do the same things that you're talking about, which is like, and it sounds so silly and it sounds like, oh, that's ridiculous, but it's for yourself. You just do it for yourself, with yourself. And it is like, I mean, I have so many friends that are like, oh, I just want, you know, somebody to do that. And it's like, oh yeah, man, that's the answer, is like, it's you. Like, it's us. Like, nobody else can do this for me. Like, my parents did the best job that they could with what they had. They, you know, they had their they were kids once too. You know, it's like, oh, right. We all are just like kind of on the same plane, you know, like we're all trying to figure it out.
Wow. I love that. I feel like this is a really great place to wrap it up. And I'm so glad, I'm so glad that you shared this. Cause I mean, this is like, I've been kicking this around in my head for so long, and I'm glad to hear someone who like can express it so eloquently. Cause I think sometimes when I go on and on about it, I'm just like, people tune out.
Well,
I'm like, what are you talking about?
I love it. But it's, you know, it's a daily thing. And like the thing I just wanted to sort of say that for me, it's like anytime that I can get out of my head and into my body and into my heart, you know, is because I'm not going to figure it out. Like,
I love that
I'm not going to
like,
figure it out.
Because that's literally what I talked to. Really it was like a listener episode, but she's doing research psychology. And that was like a previous episode. And she literally talks about like some of the disconnects we have, especially mental ailments, come from the mind-body disconnect. And, you know, like 100%. We hear that in a spiritual world, but to hear that, even though we know it to be true, we're still looking for that validation from the academic world. And it's like,
and that's the thing is that the thing is in the brain. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about the brain stuff, but I recently watched My Octopus Teacher. This is the last thing I'm saying.
Did you say Octopus Teacher?
My Octopus Teacher, and I hesitated to watch it because I'm very sensitive. Like I've worked on it, but I'm very sensitive to animals and stuff, and so I was like, I was afraid to watch it because I didn't want to, but I needed to watch it, and it just is like an incredibly powerful thing, kind of along the lines of what we're talking about of what humans are and what we can be, and like just like human nature, and essentially that like we are part of, we're not above this thing. We think we're above this thing, and we have been given this ability to think on a level. It is also our biggest like shortcoming, you know, like it is this thing that we have to get out of. You know, you have to get out of the thinking to understand. You just really do, because I can think and think and think and think and think, but I'm just in here, you know, I'm not living the thing. I'm not living it, you know? So like, anyway, I highly recommend that.
I love that. Actually, that really do you have time for a quick game to end on?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, it kind of ties in with, I like that you brought up, I actually hadn't heard of My Octopus Teacher. I just looked it up. And
oh my God.
Now I want to watch it.
Yeah, you got it. You got to see it. And also, Teresa, I don't know if you're a big reader, but I feel like you are, but like this book, Other Minds.
Oh, okay.
I love is about cephalopods and their highly intelligent brains. Like they're like smarter than like apes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're basically like aliens.
Yes, and did you know that? Okay, this isn't even the game, but I'm just gonna drop this little nugget of info I just saw on TikTok. Elephants have started developing their own religion by like waving. Like, they like are doing rituals to the moon and stuff. Yeah, and nobody's like.
Wow, that's really cool.
We're like not surprised in the sense that we know elephants have developed complicated rituals, but it is just a sign that like we drew this imaginary line between humans and animals, that it's like we live on the same world. Why? Yeah. Who told us that we don't exist?
Do you know what's funny to me, Teresa? that line that you're talking about, because it's kind of in my octopus teacher too, where he just can't believe that the octopus is getting anything out of it, their relationship that they build. But that line you're talking about to me is now this is in the Bible, but like to me,
no, but the Bible's written
is the eating the tree from the tree of knowledge, like eating the apple is. It's not like, oh, this sex shame and this original sin. It's literally feeling as though we are apart from where we actually are.
Yes.
That to me is the thing that the symbolism of that moment in that story, that is to describe a spiritual experience for human beings. That moment is that line. It's not necessarily like, oh, the shame of sexuality and all this. Like, that's not what it is.
Realizing where we stand and there is a fear of wanting to know. Like you said, the darkness. Like I'm not ready to just strip off my clothes and walk into the ocean, even though I know if we all did it, we'd find a way to survive. Like, I know that's not what's keeping me alive, but I also know that there's just too many things I want to get through before I get to that point. Like, sure. I want to be accepted by society. And so if I did that, I would just be ousted because I would challenge.
Right. Of
I
course.
don't know, okay. Gosh. Okay. There are too many thoughts on that. So I'm just going to go into the game because
of course.
I don't want to start anything, but this is kind of related to animals because, I know you like to make animal puns. I don't know if I just caught that. Like there's a couple animal pun jokes you made that I really love. And like, I think you did a raccoon one. And then I saw a joke about the cats being above the claw. And,
I really went to town with the cat lawyer.
I kind of knew we'd talk about a serious thing. So this is just a fun game called How Many Bones, or AKA K9, You Guess the Price.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I
It's
love it.
great lovely writing. Yep. Please hire me. No, it's basically Price is Right rules for, I'm going to read you a fancy schmancy treatment for a dog, like a thing for, fancy dog, and just try to guess the price, but without going over. I will say a hint is like, I thought, well, maybe I won't give a hint. Let's start. Okay. If you need a hint, I'll give you a hint.
Great.
Okay. Here's the first one. And this is real. 20-minute Reiki massage for dogs. The description is, Reiki is ideal for puppies, kittens, seniors, and any dog with any ailment. It relaxes and helps restore the dog's immune system to work better. And this is a treatment in New York.
I was gonna
guess
ask
the price without.
I'm going to say 125.
You went over, but I would have guessed that too. It was $39, which is very cheap in my mind. Yeah.
Wow.
So my hint was going to be some of these things I looked up. I was expecting to be a lot more, but I guess they're not. But they're still ridiculous things, so hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think, touch therapy is important for all living beings, and I would, that includes plants. So I think that these things are important, however, capitalism.
Well, I would argue it's so important that animals know how to do it, and we created things like spas and Reiki, and we didn't create, like, yes, there's like a lot of history that goes into it, but it came out of a need to do it and to economize it and make it more efficient. So that's more where I feel like it's kind of silly to do dog massage, because I'm like, that's like, they literally they get the zoomies, they run around, they like know how they're not as ashamed as we are about touching each other. But, whatever. Reiki for your dog. You can get it. The next one is a therapeutic mud treatment. It's just 30 minutes, but here's a description. Nourish, strengthen, and encourage healthy cell regeneration with a therapeutic mud body treatment. As the mud detoxifies your dog's skin, removing dirt, oils, and other toxins, dead skin cells are replaced with nourishing materials, soothing relief, boosting your dog's ability to fight infections, dry skin, and other irritations that can lead to canine dermatitis. Mud is applied all over the body and massaged into the skin and fur.
This feels like the one thing that dogs would like.
I think so too, but it's almost like taking the fun out of rolling around.
Yeah, they wouldn't, because they would have to be at the place that they hate. I'm gonna go, because I went way overboard with the Reiki thing. I'm gonna say that this is $50.
Very close. It's $65. Roughly 45 pounds.
Was my first guess.
45 pounds, but roughly $65. So
wow, yeah.
Okay,
great.
Two more. Loose. This one made me laugh a lot just because of the description is insane. It's a loose ski suit from Max Bone, which makes luxury dog clothes. for life. It's a lifestyle dog clothes where it's like your style. It's not just clothes, you know, that you get at Petco. It's
Oh,
like,
of course.
There's a
You're
line.
buying a lifestyle
Yeah.
when you buy this coat for your
There's
dog.
like, you know, seasons of these clothes.
Yeah,
so
of
the
course.
description says, get your pup ready for ski season in the effortlessly cool and on-trend Lou ski suit. This puffer style suit features zipper opening at back for harness, leash clip, and a detachable hood. Lightweight and water resistant yet warm, this jacket will keep your dog cozy and comfortable on or off the slopes.
I'm gonna go $75.99.
You still win because it's under, but it's $115.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna go more 100, but I was afraid I was gonna go over, so I was trying to.
This last one is high, so go for the stars.
Okay.
Here.
All right. Good to know.
Final one is a pool party at the Bone Pool at Waggington Hotel, which is a luxury pet hotel in Singapore. Okay, and this is for the barbecue gourmet package, which includes up to 15 humans, 2 inflatable. You don't get the humans; you can bring the humans. It's like
Of course,
a party you throw. 2 inflatable pool floats, and this is the rate for 2 hours, so you could get more.
Okay.
But this for 2 hours. How much is it for this party?
I think it's this is in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
$350.
It's a lot more than that.
Wow. $12.99.
So it is 1,050 Singapore dollars, which is roughly equal to $791 for 2 hours.
Dang.
In this pool party. I don't think I've ever thrown
Wow.
a birthday party for that much. It's wild.
Ever?
I don't ever thrown a birthday party. No, for that much. I'm like, if I threw
Yeah.
a birthday party and I wanted to spend that much money,
I mean,
I think it would have to be like a month long, you know. It's
yeah.
like,
That's the thing. Like,
your
none
dog.
of this is for the dog. You know what I mean? Like, none of it. Even the Reiki, even the mud thing. Like, none of it is actually for the dog. It's for the person, especially the party.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Oh man.
So
I know. I guess my I'm not treating my dog well enough. They also have a royal suite at this Waggington hotel that's $188 a night. And I'm like,
ooh.
that's a lot.
And it's just for the dog, or
Just for
there's
the dog.
people beds
Nope.
in there?
Nope, just dog.
Wow.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. But thank you for playing. I feel like you did great because these are.
I feel like I did a
ridiculous
great job. I
prices.
only missed one.
Yes. So your prizes, you get to tell the listeners where to follow you and anything you want that's coming out that you want them to check out. Obviously, your album.
Yeah.
Everyone should get Rhea's
Yeah,
album.
check out the album. It's in a bunch of places. You can stream it on like Spotify, Amazon Music, Tidal. It's on like the Pandora. It's like on everything. Apple Music too. You can buy it on iTunes. Is not a thing, but it also still is a thing. So I don't know. You can find it many places. If you go to a special thing to buy it, which is the label that it's on, you can also buy like a limited edition pin that just is my name, that my friend who designed the cover art, and she also did the pin, Lindsay Jones, she made it. So that's a cool thing. You can buy that for $10 and then you get the download, which is cool because it's, you know, supporting the label and the independent thing. And also, if you get it and you enjoyed it, rate it and review it and like post about it, because I don't, you know, it's not like I don't have Netflix and Comedy Central behind me, but it's done really well. And I'm really proud of it because people are like, it's funny. And I'm like, that's the best compliment. That's all I want, is to put out a funny comedy album.
Of course it's funny. I can't wait to listen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rhea. You can follow this podcast at Tell Me Anything Pod and follow me at Larissa T on Twitter and Instagram.
That's right. So great to talk to you.
Yay.